Venenum.
Like aluminum, but not. Trance of Death. The epic conclusion. Venenum are a German progressive death metal band. This song in particular really fits the theme I was going for this playlist. And what the fuck is the theme? Neil, I don't understand the theme.
Probably horror.
Like, maybe it's just extremes.
I mean, yeah, they've all been very
extremely good, extremely bad.
They said,
in topic. All right.
All right, guys, here we go. Strap in.
I've been drifting by spread the lies beyond infinite imminent. In a moment of clarity, the inner has collapsed, facing singularity. Hints of the vast unknown. Alone on a throne. No!
And that, dear listener, is the conclusion of
Venenum. Wait, how did you pronounce this band name?
Venenum.
Trance of
Trance
Death,
of Death.
Part 1, Part 2, and Part 3.
Okay, dear listener. Okay. So, first of all, everybody knows I do not like progressive.
And everyone knows I do.
Progressive metal. I can't stand it. Now, I will say, there were a bunch of segments of the song that I liked, and I thought that the transitions, they did a damn good job on their transitions. There was one part around the 14, I had it written down somewhere, the 14, 30-minute part to 16 that I absolutely loathed. And Alan,
You were going to say love.
Alan was like, Vin is cursing Opeth right now.
Yes,
I was cursing Opeth. I even said to the mic, he's right. I was cursing Opeth, Dream Theater. I'm like, why did you guys have to ruin this
Oh my
amazing
gosh.
song? I couldn't stand that part. It was
Oh my
horrible.
gosh.
Get rid of it. But I thought to myself, oh no, I felt a giant gut punch. I was like, oh no. Because I actually liked the song. I was vibing to it, and I was like, okay, now they're going to slow down time and do all this extra, math shit. Because they had a couple segments where it was like real mathy, off, rhythm stuff. You couldn't really get the calcs right. It's like, oh, here we go. You went to Juilliard for music. I get it.
Jeez, babe.
But they didn't do that. They recovered their listener. I really felt like they recovered. Obviously, the 8-minute outro of the instrumental was a bit much. I want to actually see. I'm gonna
Drummer do this live.
Yeah, I'm when you're asleep or whatever, I'm gonna go and scour them internets to see if
You fell asleep before me last
that
night.
drummer really did that shit like that.
Yeah,
I want to see if that dude is really like that.
Maybe there's a couple drummers. That guy starts and that one takes over while the other one
Well,
does
when you're in the
this.
studio, yeah. So go ahead, keep going.
So for me, I like progressive, but I actually didn't vibe with any part of this song.
Any part of it?
No, not a single part. Not a single part.
What?
I didn't feel any of it. I'm so
Not
sorry.
even the beginning?
Oh,
it was
well,
like flowering like
no,
a rose. It was opening
probably,
up. It was
okay.
opening up there, listener.
No, you're probably right. I probably felt that part, but then I forgot about it by the time. I'm not trying to be mean. That's just what happened. So yeah, I don't.
I was thinking to myself. I said, I was thinking to myself. I'm like, I should stop this right here and here and here, and emphasize these really good parts, because I thought to myself, that's gonna happen. I said they're gonna come with some weak shit somewhere, and that's gonna overpower.
Yeah. Well, that's what happened.
the
My
other
attention
thing.
span is I'm 5 or something. I don't know.
No, I mean 20. It's a commitment. That was a commitment. 26 minutes.
But you know what? I'm watching the comment section, and everybody's loving. A lot of people were loving it, and they were saying that it was a commitment, but they love the commitment. People were throwing out 10s and 11s and stuff.
People were throwing out
Adam-
10s. People were throwing out 10s and 11s for this song?
Yeah,
Where?
I saw multiple. Scroll up, you'll see. Just type in 10, you'll see. And Adam, you said something funny that was also true.
What did he say? Who? Adam or Alan?
Adam,
What did he say?
don't ask me. If I wanted to say it, I'd say it.
I'm going to find what he said. You are the worst.
Yeah, anyway, so, I mean... What? Well, maybe it wasn't Adam that said it. I'm pretty sure it was, though.
All
Scroll
right,
up.
Well, tell me what he said.
No, I'm not going to tell you what he said. It doesn't matter. Let's move it right along.
Okay.
Maybe it was somebody else that said it. Anyway, yeah, so right there, look, see, people were giving it a 10. You saw that? I just didn't, and maybe that's why. Maybe I kind of went, yeah, I don't know. That's got to be super disappointing, Neil. I'm very sorry.
Why would it be? I don't think Neil's disappointed.
Okay. Well,
Do you think that they thought, everybody knows I hate progressive?
yeah, but everybody knows I love progressive.
Yeah, that's true. But I liked way more of these sections than I disliked. I only disliked that little Mudvayne section, and then I felt like the 8-minute thing was just.
I don't know. Maybe something happened because I didn't feel any of it, and that to me is disappointing.
I think if we went back and listened to I feel responsible because I feel like if I stopped at certain segments, you'd be like, oh, I really love that shit because I was
probably right.
vibing to that part. And like the transitions were good. There was one transition around like the 4-6 minute mark where it was just like opening up like a rose almost. This is a very, very corny explanation.
Well,
but it was that part was really good.
That's the type that I like. Oh, really, Neil? You thought I'd only like 2 or 3 out of the 6. Did you think I'd like this one though? That's the question. And honestly, okay, so here's another weird thing. Actually, maybe you can put it back on. When it got done, Amy was like, did I miss the vocals? Because I don't remember hearing really the vocals either. What type of vocals was it?
No, they were deaf. They were deaf.
I know there were vocals in it, but I don't remember hearing them. I'm sorry.
That's because there was an 8-minute gap between the last verb, the last word, and the instrument. They just
that's
went
gotta
on.
Be what it is.
They went on and on and on. And then in the last 4 minutes, there was not much variation. It was just the same.
And I think that's what I'm remembering. That's probably what happened because I felt like there was not a lot of variation.
Thing in the Harlequin Forest.
No, that was necessary. It was the heartbeat. Don't even.
So the guy's transitioning to the next world. What do you mean? He's going out to the end. So there was at least it was more than one note like what you saw in Harlequin Forest where it was just Jun. Ridiculous. This one,
It gave Vector vibes.
Yeah, Vector's like that because they're kind of progressive and they're like heavy. I like the song. I like what they were doing lyrically. I didn't like the 8-minute whatever. I thought that was ridiculous, and I didn't like the little Mudvayne part where they were off key. I just didn't like it. But there were so many parts that were so cool that had so many good transitions where I was like, okay, and plus I thought to myself, this is a song that you have to listen to probably 58 times to get, because your brain get used to stuff in the transition. You get a little 3-minute song.
Yeah.
Your brain's kind of like, okay, this is what's going to happen. This is what's going to happen. And then you remember what you liked about it a lot easier in your mind.
And maybe,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you could be right. And maybe it's one of those things that you listen to as part of the album because really...
Wait.
This is... Did I do that?
Yeah. So nobody could hear.
Maybe this is one... Do it as like a full, like as part of the album review because like when you look at it, this album has 7 songs. This makes up 3 of the 7. So it's literally almost half an album. So maybe if you had like that mindset that you were listening to an album or half an album, like maybe that would be different. Because you have a certain mindset that you're going into it with. I went into the mindset saying this is one long song. So it was different than that. So perhaps that would have changed it.
Well, yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I agree with that because what we're calling the middle is probably like there's just a second song.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like,
right.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. I agree with that. That makes more sense. Like, there's no real way to quantify that as one song when it's really 3 songs. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So I get where you'd be coming from with that. So like what we're calling the middle was probably was it Metanoia Journey?
Yeah.
Which is really interesting. Did you see what's his face is Kel was like, oh, he's gonna see Jesus somewhere in it. I don't know, Kel. The guy's talking about transitioning into the next world. The second song is called Metanoia Journey. People just say
metanoia again?
Metanoia is the Greek word for repentance.
Oh, oh well, okay. And then the last song was There Are Other Worlds.
Right.
So we're gonna have to say that probably
Kel is just you know that's Kel. You know, oh, I bet you think the sun's yellow too, Vin. I bet you think grass is green, bitch.
You idiot.
You dumb butt. He's just trying to be a contrarian. But yeah, like literally it's reflections, and then it's metanoia journey, which would be repentance journey, and there are other worlds, which we agree.
we have no problem with.
And in order to end up in the good world, is you do have to have some metanoia there and do some repenting.
That's very true. Wait.
People keep saying our house is on fire. What
Yeah,
happened?
I know, but Middle Earth is like mics are way low, and then Enoch's like mics are high now. So I don't know what's happening. Maybe it's the fire.
There's no fire.
I know.
That was just when you unplugged our video. Okay, so lyrically, what they were saying.
Yeah, can you just give me like an overall of what those three together make?
Well, he's saying, I've been diving for my sunken soul all life, drowning in a pool filled with my tears. Now in the corner of the distorted screen, there's no sense of what's real or from a dream. A strange shade keeps fading in. I look down on me from within. Which is really, it's kind of an outer body experience, right? Where people have reported like being able to look down on their own bodies in the operating room.
Yeah. Wait, which song are you doing? Part 1? Are you, which part are you? I want to see that. What did you, read that last piece again.
Right there. I look down on me from within.
Oh, that's interesting.
So he's looking down on himself, but it's his soul that's looking down, and his soul is usually located, quote, inside of you.
That's such an interesting
That's brilliant.
thing to say.
That's really, really brilliant.
Well, I kind of took that as the person was like seeing themselves, like taking an assessment of themselves from within.
He says, I look down on me from within.
Right.
Well, I think
so from deep within yourself, you're taking like a whole picture of who are you really? Where are you really? What?
It's possible. It's possible. I mean, it just looks, because the event is death itself, I'm just looking at it like it's an out-of-body experience. Because the next line is, all those mountains I've never ascended one, working wonders, nothing that I have done, the sound of doom that I couldn't hear.
Yeah.
Burned by the light, that's life. That's life's reflecting on me. I look back on what I was supposed to see, echoes of the past bursting through my mind, a state of anxiety I thought I'd left behind. Mm-hmm. I'm wandering off this stirring void, breaking out of this shell that's long been spoiled. Lift me up, take me away, release me of pain and agony I shall not see another day. So, this is one of those things where, like, that's a really interesting line, too, where he says, a state of anxiety I thought I'd left behind.
Yeah.
Because let's just say that those silly, crazy, superstitious theists are right. And there truly is a God, and there truly is a reckoning and an accounting. Mm-hmm. Right? And you've outgrown that. You've outgrown that because you're so smart. You're so much more smart. You're such a more complete person. You're so much and you've outgrown it.
You have no time for fairy tales.
But then you come to die. And let's just in a hypothetical universe, that all this shit is really, really true. And the God who made you, you're about to see him in about 4 minutes. Then there's a state of anxiety that you have that you thought you left behind. Like, that shit is no joke, bro. Like, I've read a lot of stories about people who, and I've heard people testify to that as well, and all the work that's being done right now with consciousness and things of that nature, and it's really fascinating to me. Like, you talk about people in the jungle and, underdeveloped peoples or whatever, but I've said this before, where you have, here we are, a first world nation, and now you've got droves, and it's a multi-million-dollar business every year of Americans going deep into the Amazon jungle.
Yep.
To these underdeveloped third worldians.
Right.
To sit at the feet of these people and take DMT and have these spiritual experiences which change them forever.
Yep.
And it doesn't matter if you're a multi-millionaire, quadrillionaire, whatever. It's funny, like, all these people have done this, by the way. Like, a lot of these big-time millionaire advanced people, a lot of them have done that. It's like, what are you looking for? Mm-hmm. Because nobody is saying, I took DMT and I realized that I'm just space dust. I've never heard anybody say that.
Yeah, right.
So it's like, what the fuck are you trying to do? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's like the arrogance of the postmodern Western mind is being undercut like right in front of us.
Yeah.
And now they're going back to the old ways, going back to stuff that was being practiced thousands of years ago, to try to find some sort of spiritual connectedness, because their postmodernism has failed them. Because no matter what people try to say, it's like, oh, it doesn't necessarily need to lead to nihilism and emptiness. Okay. So why is everybody on a plane
Right.
to freaking the Amazon jungle then? Like, I'm not, like, look, man, say what you want. But
it always seems like they get an ego check.
Oh, that's
like
the
it
other
shows them who they are in relation to everything.
Right.
And that they are small, you know what I mean, and that there is so much out there,
But
that they're it almost. I always feel like it gives them like this almost close to what the Bible teaches without the same language.
Yeah, but 100. Well, one of the things that's fascinating is that almost all these people report talking to elder spirits, spirits that they report to, that they submit to, spirits that rebuke them. I was listening to Graham Hancock, and he was talking about how the mother, this blue lady, was rebuking him for he was consuming too much weed. He wasn't respecting the plant, the weed. He wasn't respecting it.
That's interesting.
And he was also not treating his wife well. So this spiritual entity comes to him and says, she rebuked, and Graham Hunt, when you listen to him talk, he believes that this person has. A lot of these people believe that they're running into something, and so it's just so fascinating to me.
Well, it was before the time of the internet, so there was people that were taking this and they were recording what they were seeing, and you didn't have the internet for them to like line up their stories and say, me too, I met the same character. It was people were putting out their stories, and now with the internet, now these stories are all coming where we can see them all.
Correct.
So now it's like, okay, all these people were experiencing the same beings in their DMT trips, and they were not connected, and they were from different parts of the world. So what's actually happening? Correct.
And I was watching Jordan Peterson and who's it's Dillahunty, I think it's Matt Dillahunty, the funny one, Matt Dillahunty, I think his name is, and you could tell Peterson was like way over his head. Peterson posted something about Jesus a couple days ago.
He did.
Where it says, I'm the water of life. Anybody who comes to me who drinks will never be thirsty again. And Peterson puts madness or life-changing truth or something like that. Like, it's either way. But, like, to your point, that these people didn't sit there and compare notes together. And Terrence McKenna would talk about this.
Yeah.
You're talking to these DMT elves and who are these beings? And he would talk about how the plant itself, in the way Terrence McKenna talked about DMT, it was almost like the plant itself had ontology and had a will.
Yeah.
Because when you talk to the Amazonians and they said, how the hell did you guys figure out how to do this with the MAO inhibitors? You guys are back. I mean, the subtext was, you backwards Amazonians? I mean, you guys don't have a chemistry lab. How the fuck did you figure out that if you put this vine in here,
come to knowledge without science?
And the tribesman told them, the plant told us.
I know, it's crazy.
Do what you will with that.
That's what they said.
Do what you will with that. It's just like that lady on the Lex Friedman podcast that she was talking about. There's just so many things where people who built the internet, and Russians, shout out to Russia, God bless you with repentance, inshallah. But a lot of the cosmonauts in the Russian space program believed that they were communicating with disembodied spirits who were guiding them to get to space. That's just a fact. And so when I saw that line where it says the anxiety that he had, that he thought he outgrew, basically, I'm like, yo, like that's like Western man right now.
Yeah.
Like when he's coming to his final moments, and you lived walking around on the earth as if you were the king of your own castle, and you don't have anybody to report to, and all this shit was fairy tales, and all this shit was dumb, and all. I was talking to a guy, and he was like, we were talking about the origin of life, and he's like, he's like, well, we don't know what the origin of life is, but we do know that it came about by natural means. I said, what the fuck? I said, how could you know that? He goes, because we know there is. He said, we know that naturalism is true. I was like, what? What? But anyway, I just thought that was a really powerful moment, like in the song. And then I didn't know the title of these songs. So
wait, I'm gonna jump in there on that part.
Yeah, but go ahead.
I had this crazy dream the other day that like I was on the sidewalk. Everybody was like, I mean, I'm cutting the dream short. So everybody was like looking up at the sky like, what the fuck? And I got out of my vehicle and I looked up and like literally the sky was like splitting open and the sights that were just like right there, not like way out, like how far you see the moon is away. Like there were planets and there were things that were super, super close to us. And it was absolutely like people were terrified. Like, and then I heard the Bible verse that says that the sky will roll back like a scroll. And so I'm like, okay, like, is this the end of the world? Like, what's happening? And I couldn't figure it out. And then like all of these planes came in and they were like just dropping all this dust all over everybody and everything. It was crazy. And I was trying to get into a church to get away from it, but the doors of the church were locked. It was a Catholic church. The doors of the church were locked. And then anyway, I was thinking like, oh my gosh, like with everything like changing. And then I heard this voice. Well, when like the sky was opening like that, there was like this rumbling happening that was like, you knew, super serious. One of these songs tonight had like a similar rumbling. You remember it was like, it was one of the first songs. Neil probably knows which one. And it reminded me of that. Well, anyway, in the dream, I heard pray for Beijing. And I don't really even know like where Beijing is or whatever. I know that's really terrible. But then I woke up. I was like, yo, I'm going to look to see if there's anything about Beijing in the news. And there was. Like he was meeting with the Russian guy. It was pretty weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
That's interesting because we weren't talking about China at all.
No.
But I was looking at Terrence McKenna's brother, and he was talking about he did a whole bunch of shrooms or whatever, and that he had a prophetic vision of some sort of natural disaster that happened like 2 weeks later. He was on Rogan's show, and it was just very fascinating watching this interaction because this dude is literally saying he ingested these drugs, and he ended up with some sort of prophetic dream, and then it came true. It happened.
Wow, that's wild.
But he didn't look at it as a prophecy. What he said was it was basically like a time-bending type of thing where he was there, where he saw this landslide or whatever at the exact area, and then 2 weeks later the landslide happened at that exact area, and Joe Rogan's like, holy shit. And there's no like, oh, that's bullshit, man. It was just like, shit.
Wow.
What the fuck is that? And McKenna, I don't know.
Yeah.
And so it's like, okay, that's believable. Mm. When you're on shrooms, which shrooms have been around for literally thousands of years.
Yeah.
But then, but all I'm talking about is just the modern mind now is swinging back to spirituality. I do not think that the modern form of physicalism and you're seeing it just crumbling all over the place, whether you're talking about the emergence of Hoffman or Kastrup or a lot of these folks that are even now mocking the idea of physical. Now these guys are mocking physicalism. They're not Christians. They're mocking physicalism. They're mocking materialism. The entire edifice is coming crashing down because of all the information we have now, because of all the advancements that we're making, particularly as it relates to, simulations and AI and things like that. So we're going forward, and it's collapsing that worldview. But simultaneous to that, on a populist level, we're going backwards with this DMT stuff.
Very interesting.
Which is also, I think, as a result of the collapse of that worldview.
Yeah.
So both of those are happening to create this. The next generation is going to have this new sort of understanding of, quote, spirituality and all the rest of it. And there's going to be a melding of, science and spirituality, which has always been a strong part of the Christian tradition. Always. I mean, Galileo, all those guys were all given stipends by the church. Sorry, guys, but that's just a fact. That's what happened. So then he's going out and he's seeing the lights. I become close to nothing, left my mundane vessel. He steps out of time and space, and he's looking at what splendor lies beyond the infinite and the imminent, which is a brilliant line. And then he gets this moment of clarity. Hints of the vast unknown, all order overthrown. No trace of law. That's a brilliant line. Boundless abyssic womb. Veil after veil, I head towards the clashing rocks. The lower waters hold me not. Death after death, the stream got stronger. I mean, and then the guy just steps into eternity.
I am free. I am free.
Yeah. So I just think it's a brilliant sort. This guy's is struggling with his need for repentance, which repentance really just means to change your mind.
Yeah.
And you know, I would say simply is like, look, your entire worldview is based on faith. Everybody's worldview is based on faith. And so, you know, like my buddy, he said that naturalism is true. So we don't know how life started, but we know it came by natural means. Okay, that's a faith statement. And that's okay. Just admit it.
Right. We have no issue.
I have no issue. That's a faith statement. But metanoia comes in where you say, well, maybe, right? That's like the first step. Like, admit maybe you've been wrong the whole time. But what happens now with internet atheism is that you come on here and you said so much arrogant shit. Like, you see me in forums with some of these folks, and you know they corner themselves in a just ridiculousness.
Yep.
But because you came out and said all this arrogant shit, and you acted like you had the corner market on knowledge and science and all the rest of it, and it's clear that you haven't read as much as you should have, you're not going to come now on the internet and say, I was wrong, I was a fool. So now it's harder for people to say publicly, you know, like a guy like Alan, for example, always questioning, well, what about this? What about this? What about this? He doesn't come with this ridiculous, you know, attitude. Like, he understands the limits of his knowledge and his, you know, whatever, and he's asking everybody stuff. That's a completely different person than a guy who comes on and says a bunch of crazy
everything.
Shit. It doesn't even act like he knows everything, but that the people that disagree him don't know anything. And there's ridiculous stereotypes that only atheists know science, as if you guys have a corner market on science. We came up with the scientific method. We gave it to you. Look, you cannot do a rationalistic endeavor like science if you start from the perspective. I'm talking about the people that came up with the scientific method. There was an understanding that the universe was ordered. Therefore, you could get laws to figure out how you could reverse engineer that order. So, for example, you know, Bob Lazar, I don't know if Bob Lazar said he found what he found, but they found, you know, Area 51 crashed, the spaceship crashed, and there was this, you know, anti-gravity thing, and so their job was to reverse engineer that anti-gravity to figure out how they did it so that we could have military dominance over the world.
Right.
Well, nobody wants to reverse engineer just random shit that smashes into each other, because there's nothing to engineer. So it was the assumption that this device was engineered that made them say we need to reverse engineer this.
Exactly.
That's all science is how the hell did this thing get engineered? How did this cell happen? What's going on inside the cell? Could we do something where we could take advantage of the order that's in here? Nobody looks at a bunch of spilled puzzle pieces on the ground and says, how do we reverse engineer this crazy picture? You go, oh, that's randomness. So anyway, this guy is the author of this song is dealing with all these concepts, and I think it's brilliant. I think it's brilliant. I didn't like parts of the song, but I'll let you score first, because I don't think your score is going to be very, very charitable. Go ahead.
That's a 6 for me.
6? I'm going to give this a solid 7.4. I do believe I agree with Kel. There is arrogant Christianity that dismisses things like, well, if evolution's true, then why do we have monkeys?
Right. Yeah.
And you're like, well, that's not what they. No, why? Tell me why. And what are you trying to say? Or won't even rethink. Forget science. Won't even rethink certain biblical ideas that they had. Won't even rethink that.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So
Yes.
your point is
I've
well.
known these people.
Your point
I've been one.
Your point is well taken. I mean, I think all of us are arrogant to a degree. I'm talking about the cultural institutions of a specific kind of person. I don't think if you're an atheist, you're automatically arrogant. I'm talking about the I'm rational and you're not, and all this other, not really serious type of,
I met a lot of those type of atheists before this channel, and
It's
then I would see those type of atheists in conversation with you, and I was like, wait a minute.
I just stopped after a while because I could tell anybody that shows up with that type of arrogance, I know immediately hasn't done much reading, and then they're going to end up looking silly. And then the Lord told me to stop. He said, "Stop doing it. You're not helping anybody at this point."
Really?
Yeah, because I was just like, look at this fool.
Yeah.
I'd quote Bertrand Russell. They're like, "Oh, you dumb Christians! You always quote Christians." I'm like, Bertrand Russell's an atheist. You idiot! Then everybody, ha 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 ha, and I'm like, look at you. And it's like, yeah, but like,
who's this helping? Yeah.
who are you helping except for your own little ego? So he booted me out of the thing. I've been gone for a year and a half. It's the right thing to do. It's the right thing
I
to do.
agree. I would agree with that.
But then you run into people like Alan, man, and then Alan, anyway. All
right, Calendros gives it 11.
You gave it a what now?
6. I thought you already rated it a 7 point something.
What did you give it again? You gave it a
I
6.1?
gave it a 6. Nope, I gave it a 6.
I'm going to give this one I give it a 7.6, right?
I thought it was 7.4, but
Well, I'm
maybe.
staying on 7.6.
Okay.
There you are, dear
Happy
listener.
birthday, Neil.
Happy birthday, Neil. Neil, if you didn't feel loved,
Then we
You
obviously
should.
don't know your love language.
you should, bitch. Okay, I really hope you have a. I really hope you have a happy birthday, and Jern, I hope you find some peace somewhere. Okay, I'm out of here, dear listener. Vin out.
Sorry, out.